I'm an artist from Newcastle, and I'm your host. And tonight we have a really special guest. Katherine Bradford is a mood maker. Water has been a recurring theme in her paintings, which deal, not without humor and whimsy, with serious subjects such as impending disaster, inflated masculinity, ineffectual superheroes, anonymous swimmers, and ghostly ocean liners stuck in the mud. And the mud is Maine mud. She creates scenes in ethereal settings, often elevating her figures into the astral world. The black universe, illuminated from within, offers a sense of mystery. These images seem to be the stuff of colorful dreams and are a reminder of our fragility in a vast universe. Katherine Bradford, welcome to Talking Art in Maine.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'd love to begin with the beginning. When you first started knowing that you wanted to be an artist, when was that?
Well, it has a lot to do with Maine because I had just moved to Maine in the 70s, and it was the first time I met real artists. And I think some of them are sitting out there. It's kind of dark out there, but... Mark Libby, are you here?
There you are.
Well, when I actually saw what an artist did and how they gave over their life and their thoughts to making art, it appealed to me a great deal. That was early 70s. But it took me a long time to make my life one where I had the time to actually do it.
You were married at the time.
I was
Two
married,
children.
and I had 2 small children.
So what happened next? What did you do?
I went into it slowly, like many people. I saw my friends making paintings, and I tried it, and I liked it, but it wasn't the focus of my life, or the center part of my life. And I had gone to a good college, but it did not have a studio art program. It's a Quaker college called Bryn Mawr, and in Pennsylvania, and they didn't include that in their curriculum, which I regret and I don't regret. I feel I got a good education, but I don't have the normal history of an artist.
Might be a good thing, might be. You didn't go to art school.
I didn't go to art school.
Maybe that's good.
Well, I think about it a lot. What I missed, what I could have. I tell you, my parents would not have paid for it. That was one thing.
Why?
They were art lovers, but I think they were not that original in their thinking about me. I think they thought I was tracked to do something, and they weren't about to change their mind.
Mm-hmm. By the way, we gave you a handout of all your major accomplishments, which are many. I wonder if art school is that valuable. When I look at your work, it is so original. It is so unusual. Makes me wonder if you had gone to art school, if you would have been developed into a different kind of artist. Just wondering.
Well, it's something I think about a lot, and you know, I've been around a lot of art schools, and so I can see how much fun they're having.
Uh-huh. You're teaching.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Mm.
I really started from the bottom. Now, my wonderful Maine artist friends, I don't mean you. I just mean I started really from the beginning with what I could. I did what I could. And And I eventually got an MFA at SUNY Purchase. I got a scholarship, a teaching scholarship, which was great. And I saw what teaching art was, what being in a critique was. I didn't even understand that method of teaching. And I liked it. I thought the back and forth and the discussion when you're looking at someone's work was really interesting, and that's the kind of job I wanted.
And you still like to have people look at what you're doing, which I find really fascinating, because it's hard for me when I paint to let people into my studio and see what I'm doing, because I'm always afraid it will affect what I'm doing. But you like that input. It's helped you a lot. Talk about that a little.
I don't think I could have moved forward, as the politicians say. I don't think, I mean, how was I going to learn? You know, one thing I did was I realized here I was in Maine, and if I drove a little over an hour, I could go up to Skowhegan School and listen to lectures by artists that I'd heard of and admired. And that was fascinating to me. And they didn't often say what I wanted them to. Sometimes they left out what I felt was the secret to why they were interesting. But I learned from that too. I learned how stubborn and quirky and odd artists can be.
And determined.
And determined, yes.
So then you went to New York.
Yes.
With your 2 kids.
Yes, I got divorced in Maine, and I took my 2 school-age kids to New York. That now we're in the 80s.
How in the world? That was must have been very difficult.
Well, the art world part was tough because no one really wanted me to move to New York. No one really wanted me to be an artist. I mean, I didn't have a job waiting for me there.
How did you support yourself?
Well, I started teaching right away.
Oh.
And you know, also another lucky thing was I had this old farmhouse in Brunswick, and I was going to sell it so I could move to New York. But luckily, I saw this notice pinned up on a bulletin board in the bank. Shows how different banks are now. And it was 5 Bowdoin students who wanted a place to live just for the winter. Just for the winter. And I thought, well, you know, there's an idea. So I rented that farmhouse to 5 Bowdoin students. I did that for decades.
Was there anything left of it when they got through?
I made it very simple. There was nothing fancy in that house. And I considered it a good way to get a check every month, and whatever work I had to do to clean it up, I felt was, you know, just part of what I had to do.
So, okay, so I want to start some slides and look at some of your early work when you first went to New York and you were, first, here's a picture of the Union of Visual Artists in Maine, and you're up there in the, is that you with the long hair and the dark?
I'm right in the middle.
Yeah.
I had long dark hair then.
Yeah.
Could anyone who's actually in this picture please stand up?
Look at this. Can you tell us their names?
Yeah. Mark Nelson, Lindsay Nelson, and Mark Libby.
Great.
And I have done talks about my work. The last one I did was at Cal Arts, right outside of Los Angeles. And I show this picture, and I say, this is where I began. These were my first teachers. This is in front of the barn that I used as a studio in Maine. And then I say, I moved to New York, but I come back every summer, and I'm still in touch. with many of these artists, and they're my long-lasting, deep friends.
That's wonderful.
And here you are.
That's great. Who is the person on the extreme right? Do you know?
Yes. Who's got her hands clasped in
Yes.
front of her? Leslie Rand.
I knew that.
Okay,
knew
I
it was
was
Leslie
trying to
Rand.
think.
I
Yeah.
didn't recognize her. That's
Yeah.
I haven't seen her in years, but I recognize her.
She was married to Bill Rand at the time.
Yeah.
Does that ring a bell? No.
He lives in Paris or something, or Spain, or
In Maine.
she's still up in Goldsboro, I think.
Yeah, she lives in Goldsboro, Maine.
Well, here is an early Katherine Bradford painting, very abstract. What's this called? Pearl Seeds?
It's called Pearl Seeds. Yeah, I thought of myself in the beginning as a mark maker. You know, I wasn't about to go get into heavy technique. I was never attracted to learning perspective, how to do a portrait, how to do shading. I just wanted to put paint on canvas very directly.
Well, I can see some of the same techniques you're using today in this painting. Some of this wash that goes across, some of the shadows of the painting that you did before you finished it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, you're right. It was layering.
Yes,
I guess
layering.
I'm always attracted to that.
Yeah.
And the reason this painting is important to me is that I looked at it and I thought, oh, that has a light coming out of it from the center. It's not light like sunlight shining on something, producing a shadow. It's more of a glow, like a Rothko painting. Or when you look into a fire, you see the embers. And I like that. It was very attractive. This particular painting, I thought I had found a TV light, that silvery light that comes from the television. And I think I'm still chasing that look.
You still, your images have a light emanating from them. A lot
Yes.
of them.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and this one reminds me a little bit of what we were talking earlier of, what's her name? Joan Snyder. Something about it reminds me of her paintings, and I know you looked at her work in the beginning.
Well, that's true. I'm talking about how I didn't go to art school, but I did dig right in and find out what I wanted to know by looking at art magazines. There was no internet at the time, but lots and lots of books. And Joan Snyder, who was just beginning as an artist, she was doing great big canvases with sort of blobs on them, colorful blobs. And you're right. I think I was looking at her. I have always thought of making a painting as a conversation with other painters, other artists.
Oh yeah, elaborate on that a little. I love that idea.
You don't feel that way?
Well, I've never thought about it. I thought it was so interesting when I read you say that it's a conversation and you want to add something to it. So
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit. Are you talking about a conversation in history or a conversation about what's going on around you?
Well, Joan Snyder, for example, she was taking her brush and going like this. And the whole painting was made up of isolated brush marks. And I loved it. I thought, you know, that's Van Gogh, sort of deconstructed. If Van Gogh were trying to depict a sunflower, it would be thick yellow strokes.
Right.
And that's, when you look at a Joan Snyder, you see just the strokes. And I thought, now that's a really interesting idea. I want to try it. Well, you try it, but then you're going to change it a little bit.
Well, of course, it's
You're
coming
gonna-
through you.
Yeah, you're going to make it fit your own vision.
Well,
eventually.
and you are so good at mining your own inner vision. I've never seen anyone do it better than you. I mean, I've looked at so much artwork, but you are coming from a place, it's a vulnerable place actually, a place where you could make a fool of yourself, but you're doing it. You're just coming out of your real, honest to God, spiritual self. I don't know how else to put it. Does that make sense?
I don't think it has to make sense, but thank you.
Good. Okay.
This painting is called Water Drinkers. I think I eventually, the marks I was making, they would start to look like something. And if I was going to be an abstract painter, I would have to change that. But I just let references to the outside world creep into my work. This started out to be a blue table, and I just was going to put kind of dots of figures around it, and I thought it would be kind of humorous to have a couple of them slumped over and falling asleep, like a table that you eat at, but you've eaten so much you fell over on the table. But it didn't come out quite right. The table was blue, and the dark figures looked more like they were drinking blue water than actually sitting at a table. So I got the idea of men in dark suits drinking from a common pool.
I mean, I love the idea that you just let it happen. You don't worry about it. You just say intuitively, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. I mean, when I look at that, I see all kinds of things. Do you care that I see something like water is emotional, and men are very left brain, and they're drinking some emotion to make, you know,
I think that's great interpretation. No,
to equalize their left brains, you know, drink of the emotion. Who knows? But I love that you can look at your work and read into it things. You don't ever make it so literal that we can't think of things that we want to make it into.
Oh no, I do make paintings that are too literal, and I have to edit those out. But I like the way this looked. You know, I'm so close to this painting, and it's blown up so big. I can see that these men look so like doofuses. And a friend of mine said she thought that it was all of us slurping up the resources.
Yeah.
That it was
Yeah.
kind of a political statement,
Yeah.
which I hadn't intended it to be, but that's okay. It turns out to be that.
Now this is the first boat.
This is the first boat I ever did. I was using a lot of oil paint. You can see it sort of scratched on, heavily painted. And I remember my mother said, "Oh, Kath, no one's going to buy that painting. It doesn't have any mass. It doesn't have a rudder." You know, she really put it down. But I had a little bit of confidence because I had seen someone called David True who did paintings of just a boat going through the water, a pared down boat. So I'd seen that idea out there, and I tried it with this.
What started you off on water? Just the liquid paint, or?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was the paint. It was the way I put the paint down. It looked like water.
Yeah.
Plus, I was surrounded by paintings of water. I mean, you know, beginning to paint in Maine, you have this rich history of the wonderful John Marin and Martin Hartley and Winslow Homer and all those marine paintings. I think I was thinking of the paintings as much as I was looking around and seeing all the coves and rivers and lakes.
Okay, now we get to the Superman series. How did that all... Well, I have a video to show after a couple of these that I'm going to show you telling how you came to it. But tell us a little bit about the Superman, who looks a little bit like... he's a little bit limp. I don't see his cape, and he's not headed up, he's headed down.
He has a little wispy yellow cape.
Oh, I see it. It's pretty wispy.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say pretty much the same thing I say in the video. Can you go ahead to the video?
Yeah, I can. I'm going to show, but first I want to show, should I go ahead and then come back?
Yeah.
Because I love this one, I'd love to talk about this one too. So I'm going to go ahead and here's the video. And we're going to see how, do I just push this again?
No.
Water came first, the field of paint. It looked like water, so I imagined boats in it. I actually saw boats, and then I painted them in. I saw them in the paint, in the inflections in the paint.
Right.
And then it was a short step to making people diving in the water and swimming in the water. But I didn't want all this flesh tone. And so the Superman came when I realized I could make red underpants, blue legs, red boots, red capes. I mean, it was a chance to put all that color in.
Yeah.
And still have a buoyant figure. Most of my Supermen are flying through the air.
Yeah.
And then, after I had built up the color on the figure and it looked like a superhero, then I had to really think about what I wanted to say about superheroes, an area that I know nothing about and really don't care about much. I was presenting it as a subject.
That's so great. Okay, wait a second, I'm going to go back.
You want to go back to that first one? I'll talk
Sure.
about that. Yeah, see, I realized that you could also have red legs and yellow boots, and it looks like a superhero. I heard Lois Dodd say that she did all those paintings of her clothesline with a red sheets on it, because she really wanted to use red. And it was a chance for her to bring that color into her landscapes, which were predominantly green, of course. And we all said, Lois, why didn't you just make red grass, red sky? I mean, and I remember Lois Dodd saying, no, that's not right. And it's two very different approaches to making a painting, using a lot of liberties or trying to get a reflection of the real world. Anyway, the superhero and almost everything I like to paint is something that's very forgiving. Water, sky. Really, you can put the paint down any old way and it'll look like water or sky. And you notice I don't do hands or Queen Anne's lace like Lois Dodd. I do things that can be generalized and that I can improvise a little.
Well, and you like abstract shapes.
I do.
Yeah.
I do like.
And you like anonymous shapes, except the Superman is recognizable as Superman, but he's still anonymous, because he's not like any Superman I've ever seen. With his arms out and flying cape and all, he's different.
He is.
And he's,
that's because I didn't know that much about Superman. I really didn't. I wanted a visionary kind of hero, a rescuer, someone flying through the sky, someone who we looked up to, who might save us. I mean, isn't that what, in the 21st century, we're looking for that kind of person?
Donald Trump. Not.
Well, I think this is appealing to people.
I know. I
who
mean, that's
make art, that we want. We want some kind of spiritual underlying. but I couldn't go back to the Renaissance and go back really to religion. And in my swimming paintings, I often put a lifeguard in, sitting up on his white bench, because he's also
The rescuer.
the rescuer, someone that we think is watching over us and is going to save us. And that's just an interesting notion.
But you thought of this after you thought of the cape and the pants and the boots. I mean, it's interesting how you come to these things. First, they're intuitive, and then you find ways of making them work for you.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting it in those words.
This one, too, looks very spiritual because it's like my daughter said, this looks like the Indian, like the American
Medicine wheel.
medicine wheel in the background. And that is a healing thing. And then you have the rescuer in the foreground, the superhero. Two saviors, really.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I hadn't thought of that at all. And the reason why this Superman looks non-white is because I just had that color on my brush. I wasn't trying to make a racial statement.
That's an interesting point. Most of the figures in your paintings are white, to me. They look like, have you ever noticed that, or?
Yeah, I think it's a problem. I'm not quite sure how to deal with it.
Well, it's coming from you, and you're white, and maybe that's the simple answer. You're
Right.
actually expressing your dreams, your intuition. I don't know.
I know, but I think it's something that we really have to come to terms with.
Mhm.
And if I made the people in my paintings different colors, the painting would be about race. And I really want my paintings to be about community visually. So I tend to make the people look as though they belong together. Like the picture of the artists, the Union of Maine Visual Artists. We all kind of look alike. And I like that. I like to belong to a group.
Yeah, a lot of your paintings have groups in them. Oh, here he is. I love this. It makes me laugh. Is that okay? A lot of your paintings make me laugh. I like
You
it.
know, looking back on my work, I think my worst paintings were when I tried too hard. I was too earnest. And when I relaxed a little and let humor in, the paintings improved.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
You know, it's taken me a long time to understand my brain. And when I was a school kid in college and so on, it was very frustrating because I had friends who would get straight A's. And this was something I couldn't accomplish. I couldn't take a test and find the answer, the right, you know, the fact. And I go through this again when I listen to quiz shows, like, what? How do they, you know, they come up with the answers really quickly, which is something that my brain doesn't do. But I think it's been very helpful in making art because my brain doesn't work like click, click, click. It just doesn't. It shoots off into somewhere else.
You know, it doesn't interfere with your intuition. I think they're two different things.
Yeah, they probably are. Now I'm thankful for having that kind of mind that can imagine things and go off on tangents and do something absurd. But it wasn't helpful at all as a student.
No. The schools are not set up for artists. In fact, everybody who has come here to talk, most of the people, I would say 90% of them, have not liked school. I think it's more of a left brain, organized thing.
I did like school. It's just that I was frustrated that I could see people having an easier time learning facts, which was something I couldn't grasp. Also, I could never spell anything.
Can you now?
No.
It's
apparently it's not a sign that you're stupid. It's a learning disability. Someone's laughing.
I'm glad you said that because I can't spell either. Okay, now this is, I don't know what to say about, this is a group. Here's a group of your people. They're all separate, but they're in a group. And it looks like, I don't know, I hate to read into it, like the Christian cross on that boat. It's probably way
Oh,
out.
no, I'd really like to hear you read into this.
You really would?
Yeah, I really would.
I don't know what to say about it, except it looks like a really watery, and water is Piscean, it's very emotional. So I like all those drips coming down. I mean, to me, it's just a very emotional painting. And I think those are women, they're not men, to me. But you tell me what you were thinking.
Well, you probably think they're women because they have white bathing caps
Yeah.
on. I needed those white bathing caps.
To go with the other stuff, the white
Right,
bubbles?
I needed them as points of light.
Right. But anyway, what, does it matter what you were thinking, or not you weren't thinking, intuiting when you did a painting like this, or not? How do you know when it's done?
How do I know when it's done? Well, I don't. Sometimes I go back and change it. But I often hear people use the word talent when talking about artists. Someone has talents. Oh, very talented. And to me, the talent comes when you know that you've finished, that what you've made is a work of art. Because that to me is the really fine point. Because you're not going to see it as a work of art unless you're very comfortable. Maybe you've seen other things like it, you have a hint. Maybe you've seen nothing like it, and you've just made this thing. And you stand back and you say, you know, what is this? Shall I stop or shall I keep going? And that's the point, that's the important part. Right then, you get to choose to go ahead and maybe make it a very conventional piece, or to stop. And other people will have to catch up to that idea.
Oh, I love that. You know, Lois Dodd said, I said, how do you know when to stop? And she said, when I feel like I need to go in and fix something, then I quit. And I
Well,
thought
you
that was
see,
interesting.
that's very hard
Yeah,
to stop.
yeah, right. I mean, put the painting out there when you could have fixed it. Oh, here's something, it reminds me of Albert Pinkham Ryder or something. It's got a mystery about it. Really, really mysterious. Dark. Where are they going? They're going somewhere. And what are the lights?
No mast, no rudder.
Yeah.
Well, Albert Pinkham Ryder did a lot of very deep nocturnes, boats, night skies. He was the master of that. Of course, I love Albert Pinkham Ryder.
Well, and what is that square black thing over there? I mean, it's all really quite ominous.
Oh, right.
Square black thing.
On the right.
Uh-huh.
And then the lights could be stars, or they could be lights on a ship that it's gonna run over them, you know?
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
I made those white things with spray paint, which was lots of fun.
What do you use? What kind of paints do you use? Are you oil and acrylic?
This painting is oil, but in recent years I used just acrylic.
Just acrylic.
Yeah,
And you like spray paint.
and I like spray paint.
Now we get into the big liners, the ocean liners.
You know, I kind of think of this as a building. I stopped. I stopped
Uh-huh.
before I really named it.
What did you name it? Red reflection.
Yeah, because it had what I wanted, which was that magic of seeing the thing reflected beneath it. So it it was something that was reflected.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have to give any more information than that, because it seemed enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what fascinates me about your work. Oh, and this was the video. This is the one that was at the Bowdoin College show.
It was. I think that was 2012. There was a Prendergast show in the Maine galleries, and then I had a room with my paintings.
It was a wonderful show, not big enough because there weren't enough paintings, but I went to it, and I was telling you earlier, I went into the adjoining room and there was a Marston Hartley Oncoming Storm. Is that the name of it? Anyway, I kept going back and forth and looking at this painting and then looking at the Marston Hartley, and I said, damn, that painting is as good as the Hartley painting, and they should buy this painting. And they ended up, I guess they bought it, but somebody came along and wanted to own it first. And
That's right.
so they don't have it until she dies. How old is she? I want to see this
She's
again.
not old enough.
Not old enough. It's just a beautiful painting. And now these lights or heads, or we don't know. You left it so that we don't know.
Well, I wanted to put them there because it leads you in. It's a little bit of perspective after saying that I paint mostly flat, but it leads you into the work. It's a path of life. You know, I paint the things I love, and I love points of light. I just kind of discovered that. I mean, my dark apartment in New York has Christmas tree lights all along one wall because we need that, and I just like to look at them.
That's a really beautiful painting.
And I put the paint on with my hands, the hull of that boat. I smeared it on with my hands so that there would be light showing through.
Oh, it's so
from there.
successful. Yeah.
And there wasn't any other way I could do that. It wouldn't look as raw or as emotional. I think it would be less active if I'd done it with a brush or made it neater.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted almost an abstract expressionist look
Mm-hmm.
to the hull part of this.
Beautiful painting.
This is from a show that I just had in New York in January. It was all swimmers. And some of the paintings had the swimmers in outer space, like this one. This is called Swim Team Outer Space. And that was a great leap that doesn't make sense. But I think it deepened the show because the swimmers were not vacationers. It wasn't about leisure time. Once you put them in an otherworldly setting, then what is it? Who are these people? Are they passing through? Are they in the great beyond? It became more universal and larger. And without losing the intimacy, which I value a lot in my painting, this became cosmic.
Mm-hmm.
Cosmic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful painting, and you like that space, that deep, dark space. It adds, I mean, these people could be looking, if you didn't have that black, these people could be looking like they're sort of frolicking in the foreground. But somehow the combination of frolicking people and that deep space, it's two different emotions in one painting. It's really very compelling.
Oh, I like what you said.
Write it down.
Now, I would write it down. If you were doing a studio visit with me, I would be writing that down because you've said something that I've got to pay attention to. That combination, you really put it into words. The frolicking people, which is kind of light,
Yeah.
and then the deep, dark space, outer space. So put the two together and it resonates. So I can't just fool around. I'm a professional person. And so this is information that I really need to remember.
Onward and upward. And here we have Swim Team Miami. But again, it's the same combination. You know? You've got people having a good time, but boy, look where they are. One of them standing on a world-like thing, and space is out there beyond and coming in. And then what's this blue hulking figure here?
That's the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz.
And I love the watery look here in the middle. Boy, that is, how do you get that? Is that acrylic paint?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is acrylic paint, so it's actual water making it look watery. But you see there's Maine here too. Do you see Maine?
Maine?
Maine, this great state of Maine.
No, I don't see it.
In
the globe?
Do you all see the great state of Maine?
Over here? Yes. Where is it?
The pier.
Oh, the pier. Ah. Oh, and it's going up into nowhere.
Like Fairfield Porter.
Yeah.
Great painting
Yes.
of the pier going out into the water. Well, a close friend of mine, during a studio visit, he said, Kathy, you know, your best paintings are when you, and then I thought, okay, listen to this. He's going to tell me, he's going to give me the secret of how to be good. And he said, your best paintings are when you relax. And I thought, oh no. Because that's the hardest thing. When you're trying
To make a good painting.
to make a good painting, you have to focus. So relax. Oh no, why did you say that? But I think when I made this painting, I was relaxed and feeling playful.
Oh.
And oh, I could put this person here, and I could make a light blue hull with two orange eyes at the top. And I felt confident enough to just free form the whole thing.
Do you ever try to fool yourself into thinking nobody's going to see it and I'm just going to do this and have a good time and then I'll put it away?
Yes, but not so much recently. But you know, I used to, we all in New York, we'd walk along and we'd see these smashed up pieces of furniture on the sidewalk, and we'd all scurry over and take like pieces of bureau drawers and stuff to paint on, because then you knew, oh, it was free, I just found it on the sidewalk.
Oh, it's not going to count for you.
Yeah, we could just do great things. We could write, yeah, your mother on it or something. And just like, you could just do anything you wanted. And I would do that. And then I would notice, hey, you know, that was a lot better than some of the much tighter things where I was trying to prove a point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love this. This is full of all kinds of symbolism to me. Do you see it? I mean, what were you thinking? What were you thinking when you painted this? Or what were you intuiting?
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, what? I'm thinking it's men in a hot tub, and the water is hot. These are hot men. And they are going somewhere. They're trying, let's see what I wrote about. It said, men going on a journey. They look like they're in hot water. Remaining masculine in our culture. It's not, they want to, they're saving themselves because our culture is turning more feminine and the feminine influence is greater and men are losing their footing a little bit. And this looks to me like they're holding on to their masculinity. And they're moving through the universe. they're moving somewhere. And so we will end up with a better universe for the feminine influence, I think.
It has a lot to do with the presidential race.
Yeah. This one does?
Well, what you said.
Yeah. Maybe not. That wasn't what you were.
Well, I can tell you how this painting came about, and then what if we ask some people
Yes.
to say what they...
Love to find out.
This painting is 96 inches across, which is one of the largest paintings I had ever tried to make, and I was intimidated by the size, so I was putting off. I didn't know what to paint that big, and I had a night sky. Okay, I feel that's a theme that I am comfortable with, and I had an airplane just the size of that pool, a gray airplane with wings flying through the night sky, and it had little windows, you could see the people. It was sort of good, but actually it was a lame painting. It was what you expect, a night sky with an airplane in it. There was nothing really interesting about it. And then I went down to the art fair in Miami, which was tremendously inspiring to me because there were all these pools around. If you leaned out your hotel window at night, there were these lit up turquoise pools. They were beautiful, just sitting there. And so I just all of a sudden thought, that's what I'm going to do. And when I got back to Brooklyn, where my studio is, I took out the wings and I made the airplane into a pool, and for some reason, I'm not quite sure why, I put men sitting around the edge.
Well, that's the fascinating part about it, I think. They're all men.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because I wanted them to look alike, so I made them all the same color. I was using acrylic paint, so they're fluorescent red. I love what you said about hot men. Gotta remember that.
well, and the air around them is, it's the intellect, and the water, again, is the emotion. I love that combination, but what do you think about it? Who wants to say something
It's a
about
lobster influence.
this? Transformation.
It's a board,
Paintings are about transformation.
it's a board meeting in a kiddie pool in outer space.
I saw it as a life raft, actually. I saw it as men on a journey.
A new safe place to live. It's like in Doctor Who when they have to go, off. The Earth is no longer habitable and have to, go and be out in space looking for a new place to live.
Oh no, they're in the ocean, and those are barracuda.
There are some blue somethings
They're
there.
barracuda.
Where's the barracuda?
These blue streaks.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's the same group of men who are drinking from the pool of water. They drank enough of it and now they're sitting with their feet in it.
If that's the case, there are two missing.
Oh, really?
You actually counted them on the first one.
What?
In hot
Oh.
water.
Hot water. They're in hot water.
There's demons.
Or in a way, maybe they're just,
Mark?
nothing matters. They're in a state where nothing matters around them, so they might as well be in space. We're seeing space, but they're just really in the real world, and everything has kind of disappeared around them.
Yeah, I like that, because when you're in a hot tub, nothing matters.
Right.
You're
Just sensation. It's kind of,
Yeah. just sensation, right? Yes.
It depends, if the hot tub's chapter 11, you put lots of things
Uh,
in.
the, the title of the painting is Fathers. I wanted to call it Forefathers because I was thinking, why are these men up in the sky? And I thought it was where our ancestors are, looking down on us. My sister said to me once, I said, oh, I wonder what our father would think of this. And she'd say, oh, he knows about it. Don't you think he's up there in a glass-bottom boat looking down on us. So I think that remark influenced me a little bit. That these were the people who came before us, who are. And a friend of mine said, oh yeah, fathers, that's where all the fathers are, because she thought of fathers as absent, as not around.
Yeah, instead of calling it men, you're calling it fathers for the reasons you mentioned.
Right.
Yeah.
This is going to be in a show which opens tomorrow in New York called Women Paint Men, the female gaze.
Oh.
And Lois Dodd is also in the show.
Women Paint Men, and she's in it. I don't remember her men paintings.
Yeah, I'm curious too, to
Yeah.
see what she can do.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Red long underwear on the line. Red long
Yeah,
pants on the line.
yeah. Yeah, that would be good. It's at Chime & Reed Gallery in Chelsea, New York.
This is a close-up of one of the men.
Yeah, I'm so glad a friend of mine took this and posted it on Instagram, and I'm indebted to him because he made me see this in a way I hadn't seen it. And also, I like small paintings that you can get close to, and the show that I had was all large paintings, and I was worried that I had lost that intimacy, that closeness. But many people took details of the large paintings, which helped me to understand that that goes in, that's part
Of what makes a big painting.
what makes a big painting.
So their intimacy is there. It's just within a big painting.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Katherine had the most successful show at the Canada Gallery in the Lower East Side.
Yeah.
In February, and the minute that the thing opened, everything was sold. Congratulations, that's amazing.
Yay.
Swimmer's Diagonal, I love this one too. I just love the fact that they're almost crossing the edge, but not quite. And there are some people under the water on the right, maybe crossed over, but they haven't shown their head yet. I don't know.
Crossed over to
Crossed over to this next phase in their life, or whatever that diagonal
Oh, that's nice.
signifies. To me, it looks like they're trying to cross over, and you know, it's really hard to make changes and to grow and to become somebody new. And that's what this reminds me of.
Wow, that's just a great interpretation.
How did you come up with this?
Well, this is a little painting, and I did it before I did those outer space paintings. Although I think it's related now.
Yeah.
I think it was a precursor.
Oh, I have it out of order, but yeah, I love it. It's a beautiful painting.
You know, that's the thing. You have an idea, and then eventually you might do it big and really mean it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was almost like a sketch when I did it.
Uh-huh.
And so people didn't pay that much attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the father's painting, they did, because they knew that I was going for an epic statement.
Mm-hmm. This is what it looked like in the show at the Canada Gallery. I didn't notice before, but the pool is off to the left, which gives it some kind of excitement, or I don't know, what would you call it? It's not static, it's because it's more to the left, it's not centered. I don't know.
Yeah, that was because that airplane was right there.
Oh, the whole show was called Fear of Waves, and this was the piece called Fear of Waves. Now, were you thinking of global warming and refugees and all that when you were painting these? I mean, it seems like you had a lot on your mind, because these people look frightened to death, and that wave looks like it's going to take them over and kill them all.
No, it doesn't.
doesn't it?
It's the color of the Caribbean.
I mean, it's beautiful, but again, it's a coexistence of that beauty and the fear and disaster about to happen. No, it isn't disaster?
Well, I can certainly see why anyone would think that I was painting about a disaster, but I wasn't really.
Really weren't. Even in your subconscious, you weren't thinking of any of the things going on that are so scary to
You know, when I paint, I'm kind of in a zone.
Mhm.
I'm really not thinking logically.
Mm.
I'm off in my own world, so to
Mhm.
speak. And so I can almost barely remember what I was thinking, except that this painting was so big and I had to cover so much of it.
Well, are those people having fun, or are they running from the wave?
Well, you see, maybe that's why it's an interesting painting, because you don't really know.
Yeah.
But there was a review in Art in America, and Faye Hirsch said she could hear the squeals of delight
Oh,
and terror
there you go.
when she looked at this painting.
Yeah,
And
that's a good description.
I really appreciated her bringing in sound
Yeah.
to this image.
Mhm. Is that a new color for you? I haven't seen that color before in your work.
I haven't done that many with this color because I associate it with southern waters.
Mm.
You know, you don't see water like this
Mhm.
in Maine.
No. Is Maine a big influence in your work?
Yes, I think it is. It's, you know, the intersection between the land and the water is so, it determines a lot of the life here.
The intersection between the land and the water. What do you mean?
Yeah, what do I mean? Well, there's always that. There's the land and the water together.
Yeah. Well, I'll think about that one.
Yeah, me too.
Here's the close-up. That's wonderful.
I painted the figures very quickly and to keep them alive.
Yeah.
You know, Alex Katz apparently said, don't think, paint.
Yeah, you did.
And seems strange, doesn't it? His paintings are so magnificently perfect that he's saying don't think, paint. But I think I was just trying to get the action down
Yeah, no, you did it.
when I did this.
I think that's why he made those cartoons, because he didn't think when he was making the small ones, but the big ones, he said they were so big he had to make a cartoon
Yeah,
to keep the freshness.
yeah.
Yeah. There's another, look at that. Luscious. What?
Are all the figures female?
Are they female?
No, I think there's a mix. See, there's some guys up there at the top. But you really wouldn't know if they were male or female just from the bathing suit is the only hint you're going to get. Some of them have tops to their bathing suits and some of them don't. And one of them's naked.
Yeah, I saw that. Back right up. Up there on the right, at the
Right.
top.
Yeah.
She's got black boobs.
Oh, right,
She might have a top on.
right.
And this is how it looked in the show. This is a luscious looking painting. Again, you've got the night in there, which is such an anomaly because you've got daylight and then all of a sudden you look and they're in the universe and the cloud looks like this surf looks like it's going to overtake them, to me. Does it look like that to you, or is this a peaceful painting to you?
Well, I can tell you, I was thinking a lot about, you know the artist I was thinking about when I did this? Milton Avery.
Oh, yeah.
who reduced sky, waves, land to color fields. I was thinking of the color fields, and I really wanted a night sky. And by taking my brush, I could make a wave, make something that looked like a wave, which is very different than actually illustrating a wave, than trying to draw a wave to look like a wave. If you go back to what Winslow Homer does, he's actually making a wave, and every little bit of it, every little froth and sud is spelled out. I don't know what he would make of what I'm doing.
That would be a tough one. I love this painting. It's a beautiful color. It's almost Rothko-esque because it's got these big areas of color. And still, it's a mystery. It's a mysterious painting. Does anyone agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Motion. Power. They're surfing, yeah.
They're like
There were
space
a lot
surfing.
of figures in the painting which I thought made it too busy. So as I was eliminating them, one of them, that one in the center, was standing up. Improbable. So I put a surfboard under her. And then the others, I just put in that black, could be an inner tube or a surfboard.
Here it is up close.
What's making that gray color is a lot of watery layers.
I love that color. There's pink under it.
Yeah, there is.
And there's pink under the wave too, and it just, I love that.
I'm going to record your voice saying, I love this. And I'm going to switch it on when I'm stuck.
You don't need that. Isn't that fabulous? And the streak of blue next to her leg really is sort of almost, what's the word for that kind of paint you like?
Fluorescent.
Fluorescent. Is it a fluorescent paint?
Could be.
Yeah, it gives a lot of life. She needs to straighten up her top.
Yeah.
Oh, and this one is called Floaters.
Magical happens when the water and the figure interact, and the figure disappearing in the water. I mean, it's a painter's, what a painter observes is they're putting paint over things. They see figures disappearing into another color. So I saw that. Then I made it into a swimming painting. And I think I already had a kind of outer space sky when I began the painting, and then built up the watercolor. These white, you call them drops. That's because the painting is on the floor, and I'm standing over it with a brush, and I let paint fall on it,
Oh.
like Jackson Pollock.
Mm-hmm.
But not, he's throwing it and directing it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of just, if I just shake my brush over the white comes off.
And they're under the watchful eye of the stars, or the universe. I don't know if those are stars, but you like to put those blobs of color up in the dark sky.
I do.
This is a very peaceful painting, because they're all holding hands. Looks like Matisse's dance a little
It
bit.
does, yeah.
And there's no ominous waves. I mean, that's a little wave up there. But this is very peaceful to me.
Well, I did this several years before I did Fear of Waves.
Uh-huh. Was this in the show?
No, actually, when this was shown in the Portland Museum Biennial, I think in 2005. So it's came way before the swimmer paintings. I was kind of embarrassed about how crude the figures were. And little did I know I would go in that direction.
Right.
You know,
You're not embarrassed now.
Oh, I don't know if I'm embarrassed. But, you know, if someone had said to me, hey, this has got some potential, do some more like this. Just get the color of the people, have them immersed water. You know, they could have said a whole lot of things like, and that's what we need to do to each other as fellow artists.
Mm-hmm.
I often say to my students, more of this, which sounds kind of simple, but I think it's an important pointer that we all need.
Right.
Like, okay, you have something here, do it again.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, this is a beautiful painting. Surf party. Who is that guy on the left? Is an astronaut or is he? Who?
It's a woman.
Is it?
Why do you say that? It's a Middle Eastern woman in a burqa.
In a burqa?
Or a mummy.
It was a guy in a green suit, more of an environmental.
Oh, a hazmat.
Yeah. But the green didn't work, so I made it white. It does look like an astronaut. You know, at a certain point, I just don't try and explain what's happening.
Good point. You shouldn't have to. I mean, this is from your intuition. It's telling us something. We don't even know yet what it's telling us. We may find out later what this is all about. Really. I mean, that wall of red, I just wonder where that came from and what that is. And I'm not going to ask you. Because you're not going to tell me. Because you don't know, maybe.
Because I don't know.
I mean, it's a beautiful painting. Visually, your paintings are all beautiful. The meaning of them evolves. I don't think it's all that obvious right away. I think you're thinking of things that you don't even realize you're thinking about.
Oh, you're right.
Anybody else? Have a thought or comment? Oh, this one, Blue Swimmers. This is a really deep painting.